Imagine, for just a minute, that if you have enough dedication, a bit of luck, and, very importantly, enough money, you could do something that emperors, mad scientists, and high priests of religions lost to history have only dreamed of. Immortality. Not figuratively, remembered for centuries or in millennium myth, legend, and song, but literally. That, thanks to today's medicine and technology on the near horizon, you could simply choose not to die. That one day soon, we can harness the biological abilities of immortal jellyfish and age backwards when we're sick or injured, or borrow genes from lobsters and turtles to keep our organs in top shape for centuries, or transcend humanity altogether with a mix of genetic engineering and machinery. And some people have taken these promises very, very seriously. You probably haven't heard about tech multimillionaire Bryan Johnson, who seems to have convinced himself that he can become immortal if he just dedicates every waking minute of his life to diet and exercise, and prove that both death and taxes are optional if you're rich enough. Dozens of supplements, blood transfusions from his son, trendy complicated workouts, constant monitoring, testing, and tracking of everything. Yeah, just let that one sink in, because this is not medically necessary unless you have certain problems with your blood pressure or your heart, and comparing your data with that of your child is even more medically unnecessary. So you can probably understand that a man this dedicated to achieving immortality is a bit miffed that one of the countless pills and supplements that he takes, along with plasma transfusions, specialized diets, and following every anti-aging fad you can think of, may have actually aged him a little faster instead. But let's back up a moment though. Who is Johnson?
Right now is the very first time in human history where you can say with a straight face, you may not die.
You believe that?
Oh, there's no question.
Right. What does that remind me of? Oh yeah.
Anything less than immortality is a complete waste of time.
Now, I do love that ABC went out of its way to flatter him a little bit.
It's hard to believe tech millionaire Bryan Johnson is 46 years old.
Is it though? I mean, at 46, he looks like a 46-year-old who lives in a nice Mediterranean climate, seldom drinks alcohol, spends a lot of time at the gym, got some Botox, and has a very expensive and elaborate skincare routine, which you know he does because these immortality efforts cost him about $2 million a year, according to all his interviews, and he's definitely getting some of that ultra fancy Estee Lauder Ultra Diamond. Hell, with that budget, it's a bargain at just $500 a bottle. He even posted about this.
Skin is the largest organ of our bodies. As a kid, I kind of destroyed mine. I was in the sun all the time, no sunscreen, and now I'm in my 40s, I'm paying the price.
And hey, if you have a few million to sink into turning yourself into a lab rat, you too can also not die or get sick while the peasants around you have to struggle with mortality. Why does that also sound so familiar?
Scientists have just discovered the cure for AIDS. About $180,000 shot directly into the bloodstream.
Anyway, look, I get it. If I was spending $2 million a year to become immortal, I'd also be upset that I've sabotaged my own progress. Which brings us to the important question of where he went wrong with a drug called rapamycin and what his zeal to try it can teach us about the rest of the life extension community. So, I don't know about you, but doesn't rapamycin sound like an interesting word? Does it remind you of something by chance? Isn't there like a Rapa something or other out there? Like Rapa Nui, also known as Easter Island? The antibiotic compound that we know as rapamycin was in fact discovered on Easter Island in 1964. Scientists originally saw a lot of potential for it as an antifungal, an antibiotic, and a way of treating cancer by slowing cell growth in tumors. Rapamycin is also an immunosuppressant, which means that it can treat conditions like autoimmune diseases and organ transplant rejections. So, how do we go from organ transplants and oncology to trying to reverse aging? Well, rapamycin got a ton of buzz in anti-aging circles because it extended the lives of worms and mice by messing with the mammalian target of rapamycin complex 1, or mTORC1 as it prefers to be called by friends and coworkers. This protein structure is involved in a lot of processes critical for managing the life cycles of cells. So, the idea is that by interfering with it just right, you can slow the wear and tear on your body, which would mean that you age slower. Well, ish. And of course, there are side effects. It can increase the risk of type 2 diabetes by lowering sensitivity to insulin. And because it's an immunosuppressant, it can increase the risk of certain cancers and make it harder for your body to repair wounds. This is why scientists are synthesizing other versions of this compound, like everolimus, which was also used to study anti-aging properties. And yes, that experiment did show some potential. It might not actually add more than a year or two to your life, but it would at least improve the quality of said life at the right dose. We're just not sure what that dose is, or if that right dose even exists. So if all this seems a little tenuous, you're right. We're not mice or worms, and the results from even the most promising human studies didn't say there was for sure an anti-aging compound, just that we need to study it more because there's definitely something useful there. There's also no guarantee that future studies on humans will yield good results. If everything we did to extend the health and lifespan of lab mice and worms worked on us, we'd be living to the ripe old age of 600 and have six-packs without even looking inside a gym. Johnson's team is also aware of this, which is why they boasted bitterly about a new study which says that rapamycin may not have much of an effect and could actually accelerate biological aging in some cases. There are also studies that show it increasing cholesterol and the number of infections in humans, which, by the way, is consistent with what we've already covered. Bottom line is that rapamycin does some good things with certain trade-offs. Understanding how mTORC1 works alongside its partner in crime, mTORC2, and its evil sibling, mTORC3, which is resistant to rapamycin, can give us a lot of interesting insights into aging. But it's not magic, and we don't know whether it really does extend human lives by how much, and if its trade-offs can be managed or prevented with the right dosage. Which we also don't know because these studies take a very long time to properly conduct, evaluate, and reproduce. And yet, there are thousands of people convinced that all of these preliminary studies are onto something amazing. And if they just try everything that looks even remotely promising, they're going to find that fountain of youth. In reality, they're going to stuff themselves with millions of dollars worth of supplements only to be outlived by 3 or 4 decades by a guy who says to reporters, "Well, my secret to making it to 110? 2 steaks fried in butter and a bowl of bourbon every day for 50 years. Their goal is to become the human versions of the Turritopsis dohrnii, the jellyfish that can just turn itself back into a child before wear, tear, disease, and injury get to it. If something like that exists in nature, if we can triple the lifespan of worms, if we can almost double the lifespan of mice, why can't humans also beat aging? Well, again, because we're not worms or mice or jellyfish. Aging is a very complicated process that has both environmental and genetic components. And no matter what Johnson or any other anti-aging enthusiast does, even their best efforts will yield minimal results. They need to basically rewrite their entire biology to see dramatic effects. And we all know what happens when you try to rewrite your genetic code in an unsanctioned experiment to become immortal. That's right. You become an eldritch cosmic horror that loses their humanity to the dark cosmic gods who care nothing about the human... No, wait. Sorry about all that. You either get lucky and nothing happens, or you end up getting some form of cancer. And no, I'm not happy about that either. It genuinely sucks that we're basically at nature's whim right now. Of course, This doesn't mean that we're completely powerless and it's impossible to extend our lifespan, but it's gonna take a combination of genetic engineering and becoming cyborgs with critical organs swapped out with robotic equivalents as they fail. The Bryan Johnsons of the world can do all the resistance exercises and swallow all the pills they want, but the best case scenario is that they will get an extra 5 to 7 years. The worst? Well, stuffing themselves full of elixirs and potions based on highly speculative preprints will actively backfire. Like it has with the rapamycin. What will happen to his kidneys and liver if he keeps treating himself as a living experiment and cramming himself full of pills? That wasn't a rhetorical question, actually. I really don't know. Nobody does, which is the whole point. You can look at people like gerontologist Aubrey de Grey, who's promising that the first person to live 1,000 years has already been born, but the truth of the matter is that he doesn't know this for a fact. This is just the pitch for his research. Give me money, and maybe, hopefully, you'll get to live for 1,000 years. All we do know is that the life extension community is very much gambling with its health, hoping to hit a jackpot that probably doesn't exist, or at least not in the way they think. And the only thing that's more dangerous than gambling with your own health is trying to gamble with the health of others to make a profit, promising that you could also radically extend their lives along with yours with as of yet untested and unproven regimens.
Hi friends, so Blueprint has a product out that's available for purchase.
God damn it! Why do all these revolutionary pioneers insist that you exit through the gift shop and buy some bag of liquid powdered snake oil that cures scoliosis and cirrhosis, arthritis and gingivitis, and also add 6 inches wherever you'd like them to be added? And again, I get it. We generally like being alive and conscious, and given the choice, we'd love to continue being alive for as long as possible. But what the anti-aging community today is selling you, an emphasis on selling, is weapons-grade hopium. We are making great strides towards improving our quality of life and extending our lifespans. And there are very real things that we can do to help ourselves. We are not entirely powerless here. But those things, eat a healthy diet, avoid undue stress, exercise regularly, get your steps in, sleep comfortably and long enough to feel rested. Indulge in your vices like red meat and alcohol in moderation. Staying, busy with a partner, or 3 or 10, you do you, them. I'm not going to judge. That also helps. Anything past that probably isn't going to make that much of a difference because it's mostly up to your genetics and the environment. And the anti-aging community keeps learning that time and time again. Normally, this is where we'd end. But we also have to face the fact that no matter what anyone says, there will still be a dedicated community of people trying to cheat mortality. Nothing lasts forever. Even planets freeze over, stars go out, and black holes evaporate. At long enough time intervals, even protons and neutrons might completely disintegrate. Deep down, we know that it's almost certain that nothing, literally nothing, is forever. And yet, our stories are full of creatures that manage to be granted eternal life. Vampires, demons, and phoenixes from folklore. Sentient AI, aliens that evolved to become pure energy, and organic perpetuals from science fiction. Oh, sure, we throw in some sour grapes. We say that they live half-lives, that they're cursed, or lost their souls, or have to do dark, evil deeds to keep their powers, or commit unspeakable crimes to earn their immortality, or that they're bored out of their minds eventually. But they're still popular. We still circle back to them time and time again, because we want to see the future and grow old enough to know the right answer in every situation, or gain enough wealth and power that we're above the common daily concerns of mortals, to find meaning for our existence outside of working to work, consuming to survive, or just pass the time until, if the universe ends, we want to be there, to see it with our own eyes. And this is why so many of us will grab on to every promise, no matter how tenuous, that maybe, just maybe, it can happen for us. After all, of all the things that can die, hope dies last.